Josh, there are many creative people out there in this world. We see it more than ever, especially right now with, technology. But my question is, there's probably people listening right now, coaches or CEOs or, just everyday people, right, that are listening to this podcast. How do the best innovators go from good to great? How do they make that kind of leap?
Well, a lot of it is, first of all, doing the reps, just like, you mentioned you went for a run this morning. And I bet, if you hadn't ran for 5 years, that first mile would be pretty rough. Because you run all the time, you could probably crank through that first mile while talking on the phone. Like you built up some capacity. So really, a lot of it is doing the reps, which I know it sounds kind of silly, but it's true. The other thing, though, is like using better technique. And I write in the book that most of us, when we want to come up with ideas, we brainstorm. But brainstorming is a wildly ineffective and out of date technique. Turns out it was invented in 1958. I mean, a lot of things have changed since 1958. So I actually in the book cover, I think there's 13 or so, much more fun and much more productive ideation techniques. And the problem with brainstorming is when you share an idea in a brainstorm, you're instantly judged. And so fear creeps into the room. And so we tend to share our safe ideas, not our crazy ideas. And I've developed a bunch of really, again, powerful techniques. But one that I'll just share with you is kind of cool. I call it role storming, ROLE. Role storming is brainstorming, but in character. In other words, you're pretending that you're somebody else. So here's how it would work. Let's say you and I were doing a normal brainstorm session, and you have some really cool idea, but it's not fully baked, and you don't want to be laughed at or be judged, so you don't share it. You share only your safe ideas. But now let's say that same brainstorm session, we were role storming. Instead of you being Ben, imagine that you were playing the role of Steve Jobs. Nobody's going to laugh at Steve for coming up with a big idea. I mean, they might laugh at Steve for coming up with a small one. So now you, AKA Steve Jobs, are totally liberated. You can say anything you want, no fear whatsoever. And so the technique is really simple. You work on a real world challenge or opportunity, but each person in the room chooses a character. You could be a superhero. You could be a supermodel. You could be a villain. You could be an inventor. You could be an author. You could be a sports hero. You could be a 6-year-old. You could be an alien from the future. But the idea is stay in character during that session, and you will be blown away how the creativity flourishes.